I I like books. I like books that you know have different covers and hardback and softback books. I like the smell of some books. I like different fonts and how that affects the experience of reading. I have a ridiculous book collection that makes every time I move a pain in the butt. I like that every physical book you have a weird relation, a tangible relationship with, as though the book or the author through the book is speaking to you, almost like it's a possessed object and goes like blah blah blah. We've all heard that stuff. Stephen King talking about writing being time travel and putting your thoughts into someone else's mind. We've heard it before. But with that said, I think books are antiques. I think it's old media. I think the same of feature length films. I love movies. I have as many, if not more, movies than books. Uh, but I think that the age of the cinematic film, as we've come to know it in America, is gone, and that's sad. That's bittersweet because I love those things, and I think it's very exciting. I think I think the physical media that we used to have with these things belong in antique stores. I think that again, like I said, they're outdated. It's like an old game console, like a PlayStation 3 or something. That's how I feel about these things, and I still buy them to this day. I'm not criticizing people who do. I love these things. I mean, my life has been studying them. I've dedicated my life to this, but I'm accepting that the reality. I'm reading the writing on the wall, and it's saying uh, the ship is sinking, right? So like, I mean, let's be real. Like bookstores, that's you got like Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. You might have some other kind of secondhand bookstore or something, but they're very rare and they're not doing great. And the bookstores that are open, like the Barnes and Noble that I cited, I mean that's let's be real, that's Colleen Hoover, that's J.K. Rowling, that's Stephen. They're and it's commercial fiction. That's why it's called commercial fiction. They're blockbusters. They keep the bookstore open. I read recently, and I don't know this to be true, so please don't quote me on it. Take it with a whole little whatever you call it, a pillar of salt, and then put some pepper on it too. Doubt me on this, but I read that only 500 non-celebrity authors make a living wage through traditional publishing now. And I don't know if that's true, but I know that it's not what it used to be. And I also know that you can get your work out without traditional means of publishing. You can make a film without Hollywood distribution now. That's what I want to discuss is the methods of distribution, which sounds Marxist as heck now I said it out loud. Um, Shoot, that sucks. Am I a tanky? But that's what it is. Is it really? That's funny. I never considered that, but there's some truth to it, a little bit of truth to it. Where Amazon, I've always talked about with Amazon having the KDP, having the Kindle. Now you don't need the agent. You don't need the VIP, and you don't got to be his plus one to get into the party. You don't need a publisher saying yes, we'll let you in to the party, and then we'll kick you out the moment we don't want you anymore. You're allowed in the party. You get 3 passes in the party, and then if your records don't sell enough after those 3 trips to the party, then you're out. Now you can make an album and throw it up on a SoundCloud and YouTube. Was it Disco Kid or something like that? I don't know because I don't release music, but there's a way that you could distribute all this stuff firsthand. I'll put it that way. Now you need that app or site or whatever to do it is a factor. So if you're publishing through Barnes and Noble, you need Barnes and Noble to do it. You need Amazon to do your print by demand self published book. So it's not entirely what is it the means of production belonging to the workers. I don't know. Um, but the thing is too is that as this evolves and the power dynamic changes, we also this is totally off the dome. By the way, I mean I think about this stuff almost obsessively, and have for years, but I literally was just about to go to bed, and then thought, I want to record this. I wasn't going to. I scrapped it. I thought, I'm not going to take notes on this subject. I don't want to record on this. I don't want to do a book bro. And then I decided I do. So I put on my Adidas hat and my Yeezy shirt, which is very funny to me and probably only me, and got my microphone connected to nothing. I just like holding it. I don't know, just holding an object shaped like this up right by my mouth is very comfortable for me. That's not a funny joke. I shouldn't have laughed at that. That was a nervous laugh. That wasn't real. But what I'm seeing though, and as these things are changing, is that our idea of these old media forms of art are not evolving. We're not seeing YouTube like something like Mr. Beast. We don't view that as filmmaking. And I understand that it's not Citizen Kane. There is an art to it. I think it's very creative. I think it's very artistic. I think his early stuff, counting to a million or whatever he did and all that, I think that's performance art. I think that's Maria Abramovich kind of stuff. I think she would probably appreciate it. I think a lot of weird stuff is like Basquiat. And I think a lot of people dismissing modern art are the same people that would dismiss those artists. Um, and that's really what I'm to talk about is not only that we need to accept as people who love movies, who love books, that these things are fading away. I mean, I have my personal library, um, way too many books, way too many movies. It makes moving suck. For everybody who helps me move, I have people help me move, and then I act like I have a tummy ache, and I go into the new bathroom and pretend that I'm pooping until it's all done. But it's these things belong in antique stores, you know, and that's slowly shifting. You got your Barnes and Noble, you got your Books a Million, but that is being kept up by a couple authors. And then you get the others. You get the classics. You get which the classics have embarrassing modern covers. Let's be real, they're gaudy and corny. But who cares? It's the content that matters most. I have some janky ass covers in my collection, but that's cool because I like the books. But then you got it online, and on the that. I mean, you're not even a drop in the ocean. You're less than you're like an atom of a drop in the ocean, and you'll probably live and die in obscurity, and that's cool too. Where I guarantee there's masterpieces being written and produced every single day, stuff that rivals, if not trumps, the best literature that we know from the literary canon that we will never see. There are some YouTube videos that are insane that you'll never get to set eyes on. I guarantee it. There's so much being produced. I don't. This can't be right because it's a multiple of five, just like 500 authors are working today. But I feel like there's like 12 or 13. Oh, I'm thinking of music. I think there's like 1,300 tracks uploaded to SoundCloud every day or something. But there's a ton of books being produced every single day, more than ever. It's the most exciting time for literature, and nobody's excited about it, at least properly. And we're stuck on novels. And I'm thinking about some of the best novels, like A Tale of Two Cities, War and Peace. They weren't written to be novels. They were serialized products that eventually were compiled into a book. Kind of like a TV show releases an episode weekly, and then it's okay. The season one box set or a limited series, you have the whole thing after. Where that's not a movie, unless we're talking about Twin Peaks: The Return. That kind of is an 18-hour movie. But how many shows are Twin Peaks: The Return? I think that's a pretty, you know, it's a definitely not a typical program. But I I see that our relationship with authors is changing and filmmakers. You're not watching Killers of the Flower Moon uh, thinking about just the movie. Most viewers, at least. You're thinking about Martin Scorsese, who made Goodfellas, making the movie as you watch the movie. You're thinking about Martin Scorsese, director of Taxi Driver, making the movie as you watch the movie. There's a weird kind of parasocial relationship. You're thinking about legacy. You're thinking about his canon as an auteur. And similarly, you're not reading. This is going to show how dated I am. I don't know modern stuff. You're not just reading The Fault in Our Stars. You're thinking about John Green writing The Fault in Our Stars. Maybe not everybody, But I think a lot of people with the Vlog Brothers or whatever his thing is, with that content, with his pre-established kind of celebrity, that's a factor. I mean, that's absolutely a factor. It may not be an autobiography, but that is part of it. Colleen Hoover, people are thinking about Coho as they read her books. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Now, Death of the Author, I don't agree with it. I wrote a whole book kind of satirizing it and the futility of it. Uh, but, I love R. Kelly. When I'm drunk in my apartment at 2 in the morning listening to R. Kelly, I'm not thinking about that man and the horrible things he did. So, in a sense, am I killing the author in doing so? I think the mind is selective, but I think that art, you can only divorce it from the artist as much as you can separate a child from a parent. I think the DNA is still there, ingrained. Actually, I don't think. I acknowledge the fact that the DNA is still there. And that's kind of exciting, like to have a YouTube, which is kind of the reason I chose the John Green example. You select a username. You could be John Smith. You could be jsmith91, the year you're born or whatever. Or you could come up with something entirely different. I don't have anything ready to fire up on a YouTube name example. But you know what I mean. That's a decision consciously. An artist can then assume an identity that is integral to the product. You could do multimedia. You could do a project that ties YouTube in with something published on Amazon. Like I did stuff last year just trying to break the format of literature. I really don't have interest in writing books, but I am interested in literature as a multimedia thing where the product description on the Amazon books I made into kind of, I was like, okay, the Amazon page is my canvas, and the book itself, if a book is a physical thing printed with words, then I'll do that, and it's a word count. So who cares what the words are? You want a word count, you want a physical book, that's what makes a book, right? So I just did one word thousands and thousands of times in different colors, and the exact number of times a word was repeated and the colors had significance. But it was a mockery of our idea of what a book is or is not, and also the way we present. It's kind of a Banksy, as cringe as that is. I'm not a Banksy guy, but yeah, you could do that. You can do. I did like weenies. Part of that, it was a anthology about a litter of dachshund puppies, and I think 4 of them I recorded myself writing, so you could watch me write it, and you see the file that's advancing, and I make typos in backspace. And so you're not just thinking about the author writing the work, you're watching it. I've changed, I stopped using, I published under the name Todd Crawford for a long time until 2019. And then I changed to Todd Daniel Crawford because I kept getting confused with my dad, and I kind of made it a symbolic thing with the books too, where I knew that the book I published in 2019, Conditional Love, would be the last thing published under Todd Crawford. This was the same book that kind of satirizes the idea of the death of the author. And then I went to Todd Daniel Crawford immediately after. Then I just started changing it. So sometimes just like insane amounts where it was like, okay, now it's TDC. Now I remember the name, was it oh shoot, abandonment syndrome, is that it? I don't think that's it, but it's abandonment something, abandonment issues maybe. I wrote for that a time or two as a joke. The title last year I used Tod, the German word for dead. It's a T-O-D, because it's like Todd, get it? And again, death of the author. Then I wrote under Job, because it's 3 letters again, and the story of Job kind of satirizing the tortured artist concept and the melodrama that we express as artists. And I'm not using myself as like this pioneer trailblazer example, because I know that I'm not. Those things had 0 impact, and I'm not stating that I'm doing these things well or did those things well, because I'm basically retired at this point, I think. I might have one goodbye project, but I talk myself in and out of writing it almost weekly at this point, depending on my mood. I write a sentence a week now on average as the last 3 or 4 weeks, which is fine with me. I'm okay to write a sentence a week, but I just I'm sure there's artists doing this and taking advantage of this new potential, this new frontier that we have. I just don't see it, and I think that these weird, crazy, I use these terms endearingly, uh, these weird, crazy, freak, outsider artists are doing transformative, revolutionary things, and it's was it in space? No one hears you scream. It's almost like in a chorus of millions of people, all singing in different keys and different notes and different ranges. I don't know singing terms. Sorry, different modes. I don't know, different tempos, and then you're screaming, but you're surrounded by millions of people all singing around you. Is anybody going to notice? Right? It may be some, maybe some, a small gathering, but I really think in order for these forms of art to progress, we need to let the old die. We need to say the standards of the old guard no longer apply. If I think that regularly, like I'm not working for a publisher, I don't have an agent. There's nobody that can tell me no. Um, so fuck it, you know, and I'll do what I do, and I'll answer for it. That's okay. I've made mistakes. I've written stuff that I don't agree with, even ethically, some things, and I can answer for that. Uh, I can admit when I did wrong. I can listen to other perspectives on it. I can defend what I don't feel that way about. But at the end of the day, why are we beholden to these old methods of distribution and presentation? Why are these still the standards? Maybe that's the issue, is that we're held back. I don't want to watch a 90-minute movie. I like watching 40-minute YouTube videos sometimes. I like, why does every show have to be 25 minutes or 45 minutes? I know why, the ad breaks and all that. I get it. Time slots. But that's changing. Too Old to Die Young on Amazon Prime is like a show, and it's like 7 feature-length episodes, an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then the final episode's like 20 minutes. I don't like this example, but I have to give credit where credit's due. Stranger Things, latest season that came out, feature-length episode, so each episode's a movie. I don't like that show, but they did that. And that show, being a show that popular, that didn't start with that format, advancing to it is noteworthy. And that's interesting. That's cool. And hopefully will lead to not only showrunners, but also, networks or streaming platforms, whatever, to take that risk and say, yeah, I mean, this worked for Stranger Things. Maybe this show will take off too. Game of Thrones did as well, actually, in their last season. Now that I think about it, another show I don't care for, but still did it. But my point is that I think we're really at a time. This is revolutionary times. This is crazy, tumultuous times. This is times of literally unlimited potential, and yet all that I see is the same methods of writing. It's words. You got to tell a story. It has to have a beginning, middle, end. You got to have your 3-act structure. We love enemies to lovers. We love these tropes. It's fantasy, erotic. Oh, it's LGBT, coming of age. It's this, and there's nothing wrong with any of these things I'm talking about. I think fantasy erotic's weird, to be honest. But any other stuff like that, there's nothing wrong with it. I like examples of each of those things. Maybe even you say Clive Barker's dark fantasy, some of his stuff, but there's erotic elements. Yeah, so but you know what I'm just getting at. There's nothing wrong with tropes. With that said, they should be tools we use, not cages that we box ourselves in. Mixed metaphor, bad verbiage. I apologize, but yeah, I think it's time. We need to let the old die, and we need to be reborn. We need to do something else, and I'm not the guy to do it. I've done my projects. I'll put it that way, because it's not all necessarily books, but I did my stuff. Nobody cared. Nobody liked it, and that's cool. I mean, I did my thing, and I did it my way, and that's all that matters to me. I did long shot books to help authors who maybe weren't as privileged financially as I was, or other ways, so that they could be supported. And when I say I started, I just mean I had the idea. Maureen probably did more work than me with the publisher. I'm not in any way taking credit for her work or not giving her due. It's just that I conceptualized, the atom being split or whatever was in my mind for that one. Uh, but anyhow, I thought, well, I don't know if I want to be the writer guy, but I can help other people do it, so I'm still helping. And that didn't work out, and that's fine. It did work out, actually. It's just that it was a performance. It was a weird thing. It was a performance art publishing house, which I'd never seen before, where it's like we were characters as publishers. And there was jokes, there was lies and trolls and pranks, and it was an art project in and of itself. I mean, I would tell Maureen regularly, like, okay, we're gonna do this, but we're not revealing this until this time. And I'd tell her, like, it's all for the video essay. You got to think about she likes that Frederick Knudsen guy. I don't know his name. Down the rabbit hole. I like some of his videos. I just don't know his name. But he says, like, you got to think about it like that. Like, I want to do like this weird ass thing, this that just gets deeper and deeper and deeper when you actually look into it. And there's still jokes and stuff that I don't even know if I ever quite explained or anything that you can dig up. But at the end of even how it ended, taking that, it's like, well, we're gonna end the publishing house, and I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't mad. It's not what I wanted, but I knew it was the right thing to do. It was the only responsible answer. It was the correct answer. But as that often is, it's not the easy one. It's painful. It's sad. Um, but it's also the ethical and right thing to do. And so making it into a prank, one that we've been planning for years, and turning into this thing was like, I was like threatening Maureen, and we were yelling at each other. My favorite is we were on a podcast pretending to fight, and I called her a fucking animal. And it was all about this book that she rejected that I thought was great and she didn't. And it turns out that I wrote the book and submitted it to the publishing house under a pseudonym, and she rejected it, which hurt my feelings, which led to me going crazy and threatening her, ending the publishing house. And I worked all last year on a mockumentary that I was filming hours of footage, and so much of what I was writing at that point was tying in with that. It was supposed to be an online project, where it was a performance art installation was how I saw it. Whereas performance art was an installation because it was written on the internet as an art installation. It was also a mockumentary, and there was also going to be a book reading, a live event that tied in with the mockumentary, which was all about being in preparation of the book with a fictionalized kind of exaggeration, a satirical kind of depiction of the creative process behind the quote unquote book that was led thematically into both of the other two things. But life kind of spiraled out of control, and it started um, to me, art and life started to intersect too much, and it freaked me out. And I thought, this isn't appropriate to share. It's not entertaining anymore. It's just kind of, uh, it's good to know when to scrap something. But what I'm getting at is that making these weird things and trying out different stuff. I mean, I would be shocked if I ever write a book. Uh, I've always said that if I had, like, hypothetically, if I had, like, kids and they wanted me to write them stories or something, like bedtime stories or whatever, I would do something like that. I don't know, if I had a wife, I'd write books for her or something, or a family member. It doesn't have to be like that kind of thing. But if my family members and them gave a shit and wanted me to write something, I would. But that's not the case, and I don't want to just live a life where I'm just a tortured artist. I'm refusing to do it. So, I'm out of the game, pretty much. And I just hope that other people do weird, creative, cool stuff. Because I tried my best, and I'm happy with what I've done. I'm not saying I did good, but I did my best. And yeah, it'll be cool to see what other people come up with and do.